Trump softens tone on Islam but calls for purge of foot soldiers of evil. Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. President Trump on Sunday pivoted away from his strident assessment of Islam as a religion of hatred as he sought to redefine American leadership in the Middle East and rally the Muslim world to join him in a renewed campaign against extremism. Addressing dozens of leaders from across the Muslim world who had gathered in Saudi Arabia, Mr. Trump rejected the idea that the fight against terrorism was a struggle between religions, and he promised not to scold them about human rights in their countries, but he challenged Muslim leaders to step up their efforts to counter a wicked ideology and purge the foot soldiers of evil from their societies. This is not a battle between different faiths, different sects or different civilizations, Mr. Trump said in a cavernous hall filled with heads of state eager to find favor with the new president. This is a battle between barbaric criminals who seek to obliterate human life and decent people, all in the name of religion, people that want to protect life and want to protect the religion. This is a battle between good and evil. The president's measured tone here was a far cry from his incendiary language on the campaign trail last year, when he said that Islam hates us and called for a total and complete shutdown of Muslims entering the United States. Throughout his visit, a less volatile president emerged, disciplined and relentlessly on message in a way he is often not at home. He did not brag about his electoral victory and avoided tangents. With few exceptions, he stuck carefully to his teleprompter. His mood has been sober and careful, by refusing to hold news conferences or answer questions during brief photo opportunities. Mr. Trump orchestrated a sense of diplomatic calm that contrasted sharply with the chaos that usually surrounds him in Washington. He has not used Twitter as a cudgel against adversaries since his overseas trip began. In his speech on Sunday, he made no mention of the executive orders he signed after taking office barring visitors from several predominantly Muslim countries. Instead, he described Islam as one of the world's great faiths and called for tolerance and respect for each other. While in the past Mr. Trump repeatedly criticized President Barack Obama and others for not using the phrase radical Islamic terrorism, his staff sought to ensure that he would not use it before this Muslim audience. The final draft of the speech had him instead embracing a subtle but significant switch, using the term Islamist extremism. Islamist is often defined to mean someone who advocates Islamic fundamentalism, and some experts prefer its use to avoid tarring the entire religion. When that moment in the speech came, however, Mr. Trump went off script and used both words, Islamic and Islamist. That means honestly confronting the crisis of Islamic extremism and the Islamists and Islamic terror of all kinds. He said. An aide said afterward that the president was just an exhausted guy and had tripped over the term, rather than rejected the language suggested by his aides. But if the speech during the second day of a 9-day overseas trip was intended as a sort of reset from his campaign and early presidency, it was also meant to turn away from Mr. Obama's approach. Rather than preach about human rights or democracy, Mr. Trump said he wanted partners, not perfection, and he said it was up to Muslim leaders to expunge extremists from their midst, drive them out. He said, drive them out of your places of worship, drive them out of your communities, drive them out of your holy land, and drive them out of this earth. Mr. Trump received a warm welcome in the room as Muslim leaders put behind them the messages of the campaign and the attempted travel ban, and he has gotten along well with fellow leaders who have turned to flattery. You are a unique personality that is capable of doing the impossible, President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi of Egypt told him. I agree. Mr. Trump responded cheerily, as laughter rolled through the room. A few moments later, Mr. Trump returned the compliment, in a fashion. Love your shoes, he told Mr. Sisi. Boy, those shoes. Man. But some activists back in the United States gave the president mixed reviews at the start of his trip.